Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Welcome, Shalom Aleichem. What's your name?
Aaron Tzvi Halpern from Stanford Hill.
Aaron Tzvi Halpern?
Yeah.
From Stanford Hill. We had a guy here yesterday from Stanford Hill. You saw?
Yeah.
Feldman. Hi, Rebelli. When you first said no talking during Kaddish, I was like, okay, I don't talk during davening at all, so I'm good. Then on Rosh Hashanah, I found myself talking during the last Kaddish. Davening's already over, so I can talk, right? Wrong. I ever taken it upon myself to not talk during Kaddish, even the last one. Thanks for the chizuk. Avram Mentor, Hollywood, Florida. E. Kaufman, learning after the fast tonight. Truly engaged in today's shir while decorating a cake. L'kovet yontif. I like this one. Decorating a cake, listening with his ear pods or whatever they're called. $1,000 are boisai for those who do chazara. Easier chazara. It's so much easier than Hirius. Try to do chazara and Hirius. It takes forever, one daf. Even chazara, just short dapim. Let's see you won. $1,000. Not that many people. He was? Gershon Chukat from Bet Chilkia. When we showed this last night, he was at Bet Chilkia at the satellite location. Oops, I received this received this handwritten or typed out letter here. Our father, Rabbi Chanan Oberstein, is almost 80 years old and has found a whole new chiyus. Thanks to official gross of Baltimore, he got hooked on learning the daf with the Rebelli. So he came to the Shabbaton. He was in tears. This man, this 80-year-old, was crying the entire Shabbos from just his fractures. Learning Daf Yomi gets him up every day with joy and purpose. He loves that he can learn anytime, anywhere, and always says Rebelli style is perfect for people with short attention span. For him, Daf is more than learning. It's a living link to generations past and Jews all over the world. Until recently, he was fully invested in politics and current events. Now he says the Daf is better than the New York Times and that Rebelli is more entertaining too. No. I've had better comparison. Instead of headlines, it is the Gemara that excites him each morning. The ripple effect is tremendous. 3 of our brothers now learn Daf Yomi as well. His example inspires his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, showing that it's truly geschmack to learn the Daf. Thank you, Rebelli, for bringing new life, meaning, and joy to our father, and for awakening so many to the beauty of Torah. It is gewaldig to be a Yid. We wish you continued Siyat Shmaya from Esti Fertig, RBS. Shkoyach. The Masechta is sponsored by David Salman. Dedicated in memory of Yimai Reb Shmuel Baruch, Berem Chaim Tzvi Doiv Zechron Levracha. Masechta sponsors anonymous. Leilu Nishmas Doidi Shlomi Yehuda Zechron Levracha Ben Shmuel Chaim Zechron Levracha Asher Shokad V'Lo Mekotchim Kol Chayov. Anonymous L'Schus Refuah Shleim Menachem Tzvi Ben Yenta. Sponsored by Skybrook Capital. In honor of our friends Meir Kovacs, Taki, and Shamshi Shlafrak for their devotion to Torah study and the Shir. Joe Gedalius, Leilu Nishmas, my father Jack Gedalius. Anonymous Hatzlacha Baruch Nisu B'Gashmius. So Taki doesn't like your new place? What's going on over here? Oh, Baruch Hashem. The Kollel sponsors monthly, anonymous from London, Hatzlach Business. Monthly sponsors, TCS Israel, Power, Talking Save, Aaron Kessler. In honor of the marriage of my son and my daughter and my relocating to Eden Gardens in Orlando, Florida. Anonymous from London, Hatzlach B'Parnasa. Yehuda Shinsky, in honor of my father's 6th cycle of the Daf, your big heart and giving to the community is an inspiration for all of us. Anonymous. Yehuda Ben Yamin Ben Chava and Baruch Tzvi Nisim Ben Shoshana Leah. Anonymous. L'shan Toiva Musuka L'Schus. Achenu, what's Achad? Echad. I don't know. Anash. Anshenu. Akash Baruch Hu maybe. And in honor of my Chavrusa, Simchale. There was a clip that was going around when I spoke about Charlie Kirk. So there's one place that had 120,000 views. And obviously not all Jewish. And one guy asks, he asks about me. Is he special needs? Because he keeps on shaking back and forth. Coffee. Rivka and Dr. Avram Epstein. Pray for complete and speedy recovery for Dr. Harold Goldmeyer. Sheldon and Donna Reich. Lili Nishmas. The answer is yes, but not because I shake back and forth. Sheldon and Donna Reich. Lili Nishmas Nochem and Pinchas Alevi Noch Ben Yehuda. May their Shamot have aliyot, and may Shlomo Reuven Ben Hinda have a speedy refuah shleima. Not as a year full of atzlach and ruchnis and gashmis. Anonymous, thank you, Eli Stefansky and NDY team for making Daf Yomi accessible and enjoyable to many. Daily sponsors, Anonymous from Lakewood, the Schus Hatzloch Elio Ben Rus. Elio, it's such an easy name, Baruch Hashem. That's why, Doilam. BMS, thank you. Touching. The Schus Shiduchim, Chaimiro Bas Rivka, Menachem Mendel Ben Rivka, Moshe Ben Rivka. Wow, 3 kids. They should have Shiduchim, Bekarov. Reuben and Iris Harrison. In love and memory of my father-in-law, Shmuel Ben Yaakov. Daily sponsors, Mordechai Sapazing, Lili Nishmas' great-grandfather, Rav Elchanan Zev Ben, Rav Yoman Avram Yaakov Tait. Zeich Tzak Lebrach made in Shom Avin Elio. Eli and Gitti Katz, Kamar Chasim Toiva. Thank you. Anonymous, in honor of Yossi K's first ever daf. Maybe Zoicha to all of Shas. Amen. Yaakov Chaim Pilchik. Therefore, my grandmother, Nechama Bas Kreindl, who had a heart attack on Yontiv, she should have a fast recovery. Yuda Michal Dambi, in honor of the birth of our grandson, a son to Chagi and Dina Dambi. Wow. I just saw Chagi here. First time in years, he was here in the shul. On Yontiv. Chagai, I mean. Chagai, whatever. But he lives here. Where does he live? Dalad? Hey. NDY Art. Monthly. It's his first? Oh, Mazel Tov. Refuah Shleima for Yohanatan Nathan ben Bas Sheva Brocha. Refuah Shleima Mordechai ben Esther. Refuah Hayela Daniel Zev ben Ayelet Esther. Rabbi Isai. We have a Morid the Gedaf today. We're holding by the Gemara, huh? We could, you know what? Let's just fly through the Mishnah. Even though we did it, let's do it again. Why not? Chazara. This is painful for certain people. But it's Geshmak in Mishnah. So it says like this. If you shecht a carbon Pesach, Erev Pesach, and you have in mind that it's not a carbon Pesach, let's say you think to yourself, it's an Oila. You better need that coffee like an emergency. Okay, good. Wow, okay. He says yes, it's an emergency. We'll let it slide this one time. You don't want to start out with this guy. You say so he could write about you and who knows where. He's dangerous. You can have coffee whenever you want, all share, all day. You're welcome. You're a great guy. We love you. Where was I? I have no idea what Masech I'm in. Yeah, so you shecht a carbon Pesach, Erev Pesach, and you think in your mind, Shaloi L'Shma, that it's a Oila, what happens to it? Rabbi Yisai, take it, throw it to the garbage. That and a Chatos. What if you do something similar? You take a carbon Pesach, 3 days before Pesach, and you say that it's a Oila. What happens? It turns into a Shlamim. So what happens Erev Pesach, but not after Chatzos? Erev Pesach in the morning, right after davening, you go, you take the animal, and you shecht it l'kavod ha'oila. You take a carbon Pesach and shecht it for an oila, but it's not the time to shecht it yet. The time to shecht it is after Chatzos. You went earlier, 2 hours earlier, and you shechted it. What's the halach of this animal? Says the Mishnah, HaPesach sheshachta shachris, you did it early in the morning, and you had intended it should be an oila, let's say. Rabbi Shua machshir. Rabbi Shua says it's like doing it 2 days before Pesach, and therefore it's kosher, it's like a shlamim. What's the difference? It's before the time, so before the time, it has halacha as yesterday, 2 days ago, a month ago. It's like shechting a carbon Pesach on Rosh Hashanah. Ben Beseira, and this is the shita that we're going to be talking about, Ben Beseira. Comes up with the chiddush here. It's as if you did it in the afternoon. But it's not the afternoon, it's a few hours before. On that, the Gemara is going to start off saying that he holds that the morning of Erev Pesach is like the afternoon of Erev. You could shecht it, b'di'evet, you could shecht, not b'di'evet, you could shecht all day long. Bein Arbaim, for us, means in the afternoon. Not for Ben Beseira. Ben Beseira says Bein Arbaim means from the morning. In the beginning, that's what the Gemara holds in the beginning. I heard from 72 Skanim. What's that? What's 72 Skanim? Sanhedrin plus 1. That's the day that they got rid of, they removed, I should say. They removed Rabbi Gamliel, who's the Nasi, and they replaced Rabbi Gamliel with Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah. So some say that the 72 is really 71 plus Rabbi Gamliel, because the Gemara in Bracha says that Rabbi Gamliel never left. He said, no, he came to learn Torah. He wasn't. Can you imagine that you're the head, you get thrown out, you get tossed, you get removed, but you can still come.
Not only that, when he saw that they let in everyone to the Beis Medrash now, he says, look what I would have done if I kept everyone out. I should have let them in, and he had charata.
Right. Dream after that. Okay, so anyways, but he was part of the Sanhedrin maybe. He was 71 plus him, 72. That's some want to say. Why does it say the word Zaken instead of Skenim? Even though the Gain seems like he changes it over there in Mesechus Yadayim, but the Gemara says Mefurish, it's Zaken, not Zakenim. Bayoim. What? The Gemara is going to talk about it. We're going to get to Beis Hashem today. What did he testify? Zevachim hanecholim shenizbachu shaloi l'shmon ksherim. Basically, we learned in the Mishnah, the first Mishnah of the Perek, that there's two korbanos that if you shecht, you have to toss, a chatas and a korban pesach. He comes and he adds one more, the oila also. But he says it in a very typical Mishnah. He doesn't say oila. He says anything that could be eaten, shaloi l'shmon, ksherim, it's kosher, ela shaloi alu l'balim shem chayva, you have to bring another one. Chutz min ha-pesach min ha-chatas. So what did he add? There's another animal that you can't eat at all. Nobody eats from it. That is the oila. And Memela, he adds oila. Which is very interesting. How did Chacham argue in 72 Skanim? Okay, here we are. I didn't realize this. That took us 5 minutes basically to get here. Fine. What happened was he came and he brought a korban pesach early in the morning, 6 hours before he was allowed to. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shaya, that the pshat is that Bimseira holds that if you shech the korban pesach in the morning, the shmai, the kuli yom zimnehu, that's the time to shech. You're allowed to shech in the morning, and therefore, if you shech the korban pesach l'shem oila, which means shaloi l'shma, it becomes possible because it's still the time. Any time that you can shech the korban pesach and you have the wrong intent, it becomes possible. You got to throw it out, burn it. The problem is, umay kilu. Why does it say it's as if you shechted it in the afternoon? It's not as if. It's good. You just shechted it in the morning. It's perfect. That's the time to shecht it. You're right. It's just to match the words so we have some symmetry, some rhyming in the Mishnah. It should be easy to remember. The word kilu is not the appropriate word really. But I have a great question. So why are they arguing about a side point? If he didn't have the right intent, did have the right intent? I have a major question in Shas. Can I shech the korban pesach at 10 o'clock in the morning before Chatzos? Ben Beseir says you could, and Tanakama says you can't. Just a major shayla that really belongs in Mesechus Pesachim, let's say. When do you shech the korban pesach? From the afternoon or not? And then we're going to go into the word ben arbayim. Says Gemara, you're right. I need to say the question is if they didn't have the right intent, not if they had the right intent. Why? Because if they argue just on the halacha, whether you could check the korban pesach in the morning, then I wouldn't know that there's a machlokes if he had the wrong intent. I would think that in the wrong intent, everybody agrees that it's possible. Why? We're going to see this svara today. Since later on in the day, everybody agrees that you shechted it after Chatzos. After Chatzos, that's the time to shecht it according to everybody. So Mela, it has a little bit, it has a reach of a korban pesach even in the morning. And Mela, if you have the wrong intent, everybody's going to agree that it's possible. Even if you hold that you can't shecht it in the morning, it's still possible if you have the wrong intent for Oila, because it's coming up. It's about to be Roy in the afternoon. Hamash Malon. No. So I'm telling you that there's a machlokes even with the Shaloi L'Shma in the morning. Now, easy Gemara. Boksiv Bein Arbaim. What does Bein Arbaim mean? Between the evenings. So, just to understand why typically Bein Arbaim means the afternoon. Why? Because the sun starts going down by Chatzos. Starts getting darker, starts going down by Chatzos. That's the beginning of the end. That's where it starts sunsetting. Yeah? Downhill from there. So it's called Bein Harbaim. What?
Waning.
Okay, whatever. I got it. I understand it. You understand it? We both good. We're in agreement here. So it starts going down. So that's one evening from Chatzos, and the other evening is when it really gets dark. So it's called between the two evenings. So that's why we understand that Bein Arbaim means in the afternoon. It's Gemara. If Bein Arbaim means in the afternoon, and in the pasuk it says, while our boss are here, it's a pasuk about the Shachat Oisei Kol Kal Das Yisrael Bein Arbaim. When do you shach the Karban Beis? In the evening. In other words, between the two evenings. Bein Arbaim, between the two evenings, which is the afternoon. You could also learn it between the two nights. Between last night and tonight. What's the dead center between last night and tonight? The morning. Halois. So Mela, he holds, you can start checking it in the morning. Okay, so now we have to go through all the different places that it says Bein Arbaim in the Torah and see if that works out. Tamid, Bein Arbaim, this is Mamish, this is the Daf Yomi pasuk, this should be the official pasuk for Daf Yomi. When do you do one Yishecht in the morning and one Yishecht in the afternoon? You're constantly learning. Miklal, the Bein Arbaim Mamish. Obviously, you can't shecht both in the morning. One is in the afternoon, one is in the morning. Sorry, here's the question. You're telling me everybody knows that the second carbon tamid is in the afternoon. So how can you tell me that you can shecht the second carbon in the morning? Says the Gemara, the pasuk says boiker in the beginning. Here you can see the pasuk tasib boiker. So one is in the morning. So the next wording that says Bein Arbaim cannot mean the morning. It already says morning. Bein Arbaim mamish. So no, it's persistent. You're right. It does say boiker. So maybe one is in the morning. The second one you could go from the morning all the way to the evening, including the afternoon, including the morning. Maybe you do one after another in the morning, if you want to. Says Gemara, no, because it says echad baboiker. Only one you can do in the morning. The second one, when do you do? In Bein Arbaim. So obviously Bein Arbaim is not the morning. It says one you do in the morning, one you do Bein Arbaim. Over here it must mean Arbaim is the afternoon. Neiros, what about the menorah? It says in the pasuk, look at the end of the pasuk. Interesting, because we're going to use that. What's Ketores? Talking about Ketores at the end of this pasuk. So, but it does say Ben Arbaim, and we know that they used to light the menorah towards the evening. There's Ben Arbaim. What, you're allowed to light the menorah early in the morning? Shani Asam, you're right, you can't. Shani Asam d'chsiv me'erev ad boiker. It shall be lit from the evening. Erev, everybody knows, is the evening. You should give enough oil, a lug of shemen, that should go from the morning, from the evening all the way to the morning. It teaches us another halacha. Here's Rashi. You shouldn't do zrika on the mizbeach with the blood, and to do the koimets of the mincha, ketores. The ketores we're going to speak about in a second. Once you light the menorah, that's it. Everything shuts down. That's another halacha that we learn from here. Ketores. What about ketores that we just saw in this pasuk? Here, ketores tamid l'fnei Hashem d'riseicha, and it says Ben Arbaim before. Ben Arbaim, we know, everybody agrees that the Ketores is in the second Ketores is in the afternoon. Shani Ketores, the Itgash l'neiros. Since it's in the same pasuk over here, but it's on neiros. So we have Akish one to the other. We just established that the menorah is in the evening, so too is Ketores. So now Miksiv, Ask the Gemara, but by us, by Korban Pesach it says, when? Bo'erev. It says Ben Arbaim, but also says Bo'erev. You can't tell me Erev, the evening means morning. Ben Arbaim, you want to say means morning. Okay, it's an interesting pshat. Between the two nights is morning. That's Ben Arbaim. But Erev, how are you going to explain Erev? Says the Gemara, Ahu liyuchad davar hu da'asa. Oh, interesting. We know that we have to bring 2 korban tamids every day. One in the morning, one in the evening. When the time for the second korban tamid comes around, then you no longer bring the korban pesach. You have to jump in and do the korban tamid. If you're late, it's mamish and yonah the yom. We're going to see in a second. The sanya. Yuchar davar shenemar ba'erev u'bein arbaim. The korban pesach says both erev, right? We saw erev. Bein arbaim we spoke about before. So it says both erev and bein arbaim. That should be pushed off to something. The davar shenemar ela bein arbaim b'levad. The korban tamid says bein arbaim, so it comes before the korban pesach. So again, according to Ben Beseira, you're allowed to bring a korban pesach right after davening, the whole morning, evening. So you're allowed to bring the korban pesach at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. 1 o'clock comes around. Oh, now it's mincha time. Now it's tamid time. Boom, you stop. We tell everybody, you want to bring your korban pesach, you have to wait now. Now you wait. Now we're going to bring the tamid. Tamid comes first. Ask the Gemara, is there such a thing? I'm allowed to bring it the entire morning. And when the afternoon comes, so all of a sudden I'm going to say, whoa, it's the time for the other thing. Put this guy on hold. Where do we see such a thing? Yes. You hear what's going on here? If you have, so it's mamish in Yonah D'Yoma, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Simchas Torah. These are days that you could find yourself in a situation where the shul is like in my Vesikim Minyan. We were done. People were looking at me like, why are you going to shul so late? It's already 8:30. What are you doing? Somebody wrote to me, how do you know when somebody davens v'sikin? He tells you. But I was telling people, not that I was davens v'sikin, that we finished at 8:35. It was like, meshuga. Okay, so, but the other guys, what did they tell you? They say, we finished at 5 o'clock. Bells finished at 7. What? 5:15. There's a guy here that said yesterday 7. Okay, 5:15.
He stayed for mincha.
Let's say bells or any other shul, you're at 5:15. What do? It's mincha time. It's mincha. Do you start musaf or it's time for mincha? Says the Gemara, when you have you have a conflict. You have mincha just showed up and you're about to start musaf. You do mincha, but that's not what we do. Why don't we do it? So first of all, the halacha. The halacha is if you have 2 things together, you have musaf and mincha. Mincha comes first. Tadir v'sheina tadir kaidim. Since we daven mincha more often than musaf, mincha comes first. Just what? In the tzibur, the whole shul. So the Rambam says you don't do mincha first because people could get confused. The whole shaila really, the Shulchan Aruch, they explain. The Mishnah Berurah explains. The whole question is if you could only do both of them right now. You have a choice right now. But if you're going to finish anyways at 5 o'clock, you might as well go according to you do musaf and then mincha. That's why you never see anybody davening mincha and then musaf. But the Shulchan Aruch himself says that if it comes to a situation, you should try to take off the piyutim, which the Gra just takes them all off. Try to take off some piyutim to get to mincha in time. It's kedai to remove piyutim from musaf. Okay. Lo noagu, I guess whatever the minig is, the minig is. I'm just saying that's. But one thing's for sure. When you get to us, a lot of people on Rosh Hashanah, it's very difficult to learn. You daven late, whatever it is. You didn't open up a Gemara. So what do? You do mincha before Mosaf. You do today's daf before the daf you missed. No? You're scratching your head, Lauren. You're trying to think what I just said. If it fits in or not, no?
Scratching your head.
It's called figuratively, if you scratch your head, I would have not said it. I'm saying that
Figurative scratch.
you had an itch and you didn't go up with, okay. Weiter. Ubein Arba'im D'chsiv. Oh. Now, we established that these guys, or this pasuk, meaning the Neiros, the Ptairos, Bein Arba'im is not. We know that you have to go by the evening because of a different reason, but not because Bein Arba'im. Ubein Arba'im D'chsiv Gabi Ptairos V'Neiros Lomali. Why does the Torah say Bein Arba'im? Va'oid Heishiv Rebbe Tachas Ben Beseir L'Rebbe Yeshua. Rebbe stuck up. He tried to fa'enfer, as they say in Yiddish. He tried to answer Ben Beseira when Rebbe Yeshua asked the question, and he says, "Loi." Look at the wording. How can you compare the 13th of Nisan to the morning of Yudalid? 13th of Nisan has no connection to a Karban Pesach. You can't bring a Karban Pesach on the 13th of Nisan. And he says, not even a little bit. Listen to what he says. Rebbe, the author of the Mishnah, says, but on the 14th of Nisan, Erev Pesach, only part of the day can you bring a Karban Pesach. Meaning, and he's trying to explain Ben Beseira. Don't tell me that Ben Beseira holds you can bring a Karban Pesach early in the morning on Erev Pesach. Rebbe himself says you can't. He says in Ben Beseira, only part of the day you could bring the Karban Pesach. Meaning, from Chatzos on, not in the morning. V'misa, and if you're right that according to Ben Beseira you can bring the Karban Pesach even in the morning, Rebbe should have said the entire day is a day they could bring a Karban Pesach. Here's the pshat. Says Rabbi Yochanan. Very, very important. We'll do this slow. It's very simple. If you bring a Karban Pesach, Erev Pesach in the morning, it's possible. Bein l'shmai, bein shaloi l'shmai. Why? What's going on here? Let's think about it together. If I bring a Karban Pesach, Erev Pesach in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, when everybody's burning the chametz, I sneak out to the Beis Hamikdash and I bring my Karban Pesach. What's the halacha according to Ben Beseira? It's going to be pasul. Why? Because it's not the time yet. So what if I don't bring my Karban Pesach? I say, you know what? It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Let me bring my Karban Pesach. Let me make it an oila. What's the halacha going to be? It's pasul. Why? Because I could bring it in 5 hours from now. So it's miktsasi roi. It's almost there. I could smell it. It's mamish the same day. It's erev. It's just a few hours away. So nachamo. If I brought it in the morning as a Karban Pesach, what's the halacha? It's pasul. Why? Because it's not the time yet. But even if I brought it as a Karban oila, it's also pasul. Why? Because it's roi. What is hoil miktsasi roi? It's almost there. It's a little bit there. I have a little bit of a, let me see. I don't know, we're not holding there. What do you? No, it's real. My voice said, that's not bells. That's not bells.
Sorry, sir. We only open the doors at noon.
Taviko, didn't they teach you in Cheder that Bein Arba'im starts at sunrise?
Okay. Now you got the sugya. Oh. Megadav bo rebevo. Typically Megadav means to curse. But everybody explains over here, Megadav means that he went like this, like... I don't understand what you're talking about. There's something with his hand, some motion. It's Ma'aridik. We have a situation that we have a 6-hour period in the morning of Erev Pesach, Yudalid, where you can only bring the Karban Pesach after Chatzos, but that whole morning is a time period where a carbon, any type of carbon is possible. If you try to bring it as a carbon Pesach, it's possible because it's not the time yet. And if you try to bring it as a Oila, it's possible. Why? Because it's the day of, it's Miktsasi Roi. So it comes out of Moir Dik Chiddush, says the Gemara, says Rebavo. Im Kain Pesach Kosher Lebem Seir Eichim Mishkachas. It turns out that every single carbon in the world that was brought, that was designated as a carbon Pesach, is possible forever. Why? Because we have a concept called Dachui. Dachui means it was pushed off. So since in this 6 hour period, whatever hour period, let's call it 6 hours, you cannot bring any kind of carbon at all. So the carbon Pesach that you set aside, you went with your mishpacha a week before Pesach, and you said, oh, this is going to be a carbon Pesach. You put a sign on it, this is a carbon Pesach. For the 6 hours in the morning, you can't bring it as a carbon Pesach. If you were able to bring it as another carbon, okay. So it's not pushed off the Mizbeach. You brought it as a shlamim. You brought it as something else. But since it's pushed off completely, there's no way you can bring this carbon according to Ben Beseira. So now it's pushed off from the Mizbeach. Once it's pushed off from the Mizbeach, you can never bring it back. Even if the reason that it's pushed off goes away, now it's chatzos, I can bring a carbon Pesach, it's too late. Right? We even had the one that always sticks in my mind is that you have a Mizbeach. You have a carbon you want to put on the Mizbeach, and one stone fell off the Mizbeach. The Mizbeach is possible. So they go and they repair the Mizbeach. It's too late. Your carbon is garbage. Why? Because for that half hour, there was no stone. You couldn't bring the carbon. It was pushed off. There's no ability to shech it, to be makriv it. You can't be makriv. It's pushed off forever. You fixed the Mizbeach. Too late. Dachi, it's pushed off. Yeah? So over here, you have a 6 hour period that's pushed off. The day before, I could have brought it as a shlamim. It's not pushed off. I could bring it as another carbon. You're right, I can't bring it as a carbon Pesach the day before. I can bring it as a shlamim. If you hold that you could bring it in the morning, according to Chachamim, you could bring it in the morning as a shlamim. But according to Ben Beseira, there's a problem in the early morning because it's hoyul miksasi roy.
So anytime you have a carbon in it, and you're makdish it the day before, and then the night
No.
where you can't bring it.
Why can't you bring it?
Every night. You can't bring it.
No, night is night you could bring as a doichak. And what's your question?
No, that was the question.
No, night is not an issue. Night is not an issue. You could, if you bring it, you shech it, you put it on the mizbeach anyway. It's not lechatchila. You shouldn't. If he decided to buy the carbon in the morning, then it's pushed off immediately. It never had a chance to be a carbon. It wasn't a carbon that went off of being a carbon. It never started being a carbon, which is not as strong as being a carbon than being pushed off. And if you did like every normal Jew, at least one day before you set aside a carbon Pesach, Nir v'nitchu, that's the worst. It was able to be a carbon Pesach, or shlamim the day before. Now you pushed it off completely for 6 hours. You can't bring it at all as anything. Not even b'diavad. So it's pushed off for good. El Amar Bavo, so what's the obvious answer here? The hey la'achar chatzos. Okay. So according to Ben Beseira, you have to designate this animal only after chatzos. Oh yeah, I forgot to show you these beautiful pictures. Tyrus. This is all new stuff. And actually we hired a new guy to render these even better. So Be'ez Hashem, we're going to have better stuff. Mamish forgot. Hope the editor is able to go backwards. Okay. Says the Gemara. El Amar Bavo tehei la'achar chatzos. After chatzos he designated it. No, it could be in the morning. There's no such thing. If you're in that day, then it's not considered as if it was pushed off. You're in the day of that, you could bring it. It means even the night before. The night is not a problem. Let me show you this little video here. There's a halacha. Maybe not everybody's familiar with it. Some are, some aren't. You cannot bring a carbon when it's less than 8 days old. A 6-day-old baby, you cannot bring as a carbon. So you notice that it's nighttime. It's like it's night. So the question is, when could you bring it as a carbon? The night before or the morning of only? We have a contradiction in the Psukim. You could, when it's nighttime, you could already put it into the pen and start counting the 10. 1, 2, 3, 10 becomes Meiser. In other words, you can make it Hegdish. Okay, the Rebbe Aptariki Rami, that's the contradiction. It says in the pasuk only 7 days, meaning Halayla Chazi. Once 7 days are over, that night, the night of the 7th night, the night before the 8th morning, Chazi, it's okay. But in the other pasuk it says only from the 8th day on. Halayla Loy Chazi, meaning the night before, it's not okay. Okay, it's that Lailod Ligdusha v'yoyim lahartza. The night before, you can make it hegdish. The day of, you can bring it as a carbon. Meaning, what if I messed up? I like a regular carbon. I have a carbon shlomim, and it's a mamish carbon, and I shecht it at night. I didn't mess up so much. You put it on the mizbech. Over here, if you mess up, nothing, 0. The Hasidim like to say, I saw the Shem Shmuel says over here that Laila Ligdusha, if you go to sleep Bigdusha, then you have the next day Yoim Lahartza. Because the others bring down that in the Shulchan Aruch, when the Shulchan Aruch starts, Shvi says Shem Negdi Samed, that you have to wake up, it's Gabi Kari. So the Ramah says at the end, the whole Arichas, he says, and you should go to sleep with the Kavana and think about the Rebbeinu Shalom. So they say, what's the connection? Because if you go to sleep with the right Kavana, then it's easy to get up Kari. But you have to go to sleep with the right thing. Okay, there's also a whole discussion here. We're not going to get into it, but it's a fascinating discussion about Vachnach. And so the Sfarb, I spoke to some Hasidim about it. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Why did it start? But basically what happened was, people used to learn all night before the bris. Shmira, the whole thing. And then, so the guy's learning all night. I have to give him something to drink. So yeah, so bring out the soda, bring out the water. It gives a shtickle, then it goes to the next guy, brings the cake. Eventually the sushi. Then they bring in the caterers from different countries. And then it became a matzav where the vachnak became the main thing, and people don't even show up to the bris anymore, right? It's like Toyamel. Whatever, it's fascinating how the minhagim, they developed over the years, and people say, what bris? What are you talking about? You're not supposed to eat at a bris? What? What? Okay. It evolves. Okay, no, I'm just saying because the Laila is part of it, not part of it. Okay. Another thing, Stam. Emerson Maisa that happened here in this room. Just real quickly, because I want to warn the Olam. There was a guy in the Koilel, somebody was upset at him, a whole thing. It turns out that he went to a Svardi's bris, and he he went to the Svardi's bris, and he said Mazel Tov, and he went out. He walked out. He didn't realize that the Sfardim, they get very insulted. You came to my bris, you didn't sit down and eat. And the guy was like not talking to him. And then they had to explain to the Sfardi by the Litvaks, if you come in and you sit down, we get very insulted. Like, what are you doing? I don't have enough food for you. Come, say Mazel Tov and get out of here. What are you Machzor Chaimish over here? You're going to sit down and eat? It's like a whole different. And the other guy didn't come to this chasana because you go to the chasana, you have to pay like $6,000 or something per person. It's like the Ashkenazi doesn't know what to do. He gets all confused. Like he stays away. He does. I went to Svardi's chasana. It was unbelievable. I didn't give him anything, and then later on I found out. So you have to know the different minhagim, the different things. Do not go to the Chasidish bris. Go to the Vachnacht at night. Come and show up at 3 a.m. and the whole thing. Baita. I saw. Because of this Laila, the Laila before, the Laila after. You don't see the connection? One time. It's not the Mesifta brings. I'm not joking. The Mesifta, yeah. Ayin Shom here. Bring in the Mesifta.
It's the same Zach. You have a Shmini.
He's making fun. It's a mefurish of Mesifta here. Yeah. Says the Gemara. If we're already talking about Vachnacht, I saw a chalaka. You've never seen, not a single wedding here in Eretz Yisrael is as nice as this guy's chalaka. It's they made mishuga, a hall with this and that, and a band, 25-piece band. I'm serious. For the 3-year-old. Okay, Zok the Gemara. I'm not, and this is not even exactly, it's my Meister Chol Yom over there. Oh, my Leib Zero. Where are we? We're talking about an animal, a live animal. So could you push off a live animal or not? There's a whole need in Shas. Could you push off live things? Maybe it has to be shechted already. Over here, the animal, this carbon pesach is alive. Ormaliin, yes. If I have an animal that's owned by 2 partners, one partner designated his 50% to the Beis Hamikdash. Now what just happened? You can't bring an animal that's only 50% hekdesh. You can't bring it as a carbon. So right now it's not royal akrova. It's not available for the mizbeach. So therefore it's pushed off. Now you have 50% that's pushed off. You can't bring it in the mizbeach. 2 days later he bought off his partner's 50%, and he made the second 50% also hekdesh. So what's the halacha? G'dosha bein kreva. It has Kedusha, because now 100% is Kaddish, but you can't bring it on the Mizbeach. Why? Because it was pushed off. But, Vaisa Tmura, you could do Tmura. We have a brand new. I told Yoshi I didn't like any of his Tmuras until now, so we're going with a new one. He did. He did a Tmura. He changed this. Now you have a Geshmaki Gezunta animal. He wants to bring that as a carbon. Look what happens to him. Becomes an oila, grows a beard. Okay, so what happens? La halacha over there, both of them remain oila. Okay, but the second guy, the big guy over there with the shtreimel, I don't have a shtreimel. The larger one cannot be brought as a carbon. Because why? Because it started off not. The original guy can't bring as a carbon because he's pushed off. So the second one also. Ushma minot lasu. You see from here 3 simple halachas. Shma minot balechayim nidchen. We're talking about live animals here. So you see a live animal can be pushed off forever. Ushma minot dochim mikara havidachi. These animals never had a chance for a second. This animal that was in a partnership was never a carbon. The first moment that it was available to be a carbon, we said it's not a carbon. So you could push something off all the way from the beginning. It doesn't have to be available for a carbon, not available for a carbon, not available for a carbon from the first moment. Ushma mina daf Yud Beis Amud Beis yesh dichui b'damim. What happened here? So we know there's two categories. There's kedusha saguf. When an animal is available as a carbon, it is a carbon. It has kedusha, inherent kedusha. Its body becomes kaddish. There's another one that's only available for monetary kedusha. That's our case. This animal that had a 50% partnership, a 50-50, and the one partner made his half kaddish, then he makes the other half kaddish. What do you do with it? It's kaddish. Now what? You can't bring it as a carbon. What do you do with it? You must sell it. You sell it so it has, the only thing available is the monetary part of it. And that monetary part, you say, is pushed off forever. So you see, yesh dichu b'dam, you can push off the monetary part. Amud Beis, sponsored by Adar Global Specialist in International Financial Services. Anonymous is Chus Vatzloch and Ruchnis and Gashmias. Anonymous. In the chus and support of Torah that all tests should come back 100% healthy for me and my family. Amen. Amar Ula. Amar B'Yechanan. Ochal chelev v'hifrish karbon. If a person eats chelev, he eats fat. Here we have a picture from London, from Reweisfish, from Manchester, I should say. Here's a gesunta piece of chelev. Also to eat this. You eat this, and he puts aside a carbon. Behemer das. What they say, I don't know if there's a better way to say it. He went off the derech. He went off the path. So when a person goes off, he doesn't believe in the Rebbeinu Shalom anymore. He becomes an atheist. So that moment, he can't bring a carbon anymore. If he went to the Beis Hamikdash, knocked on the door, they'll tell him, not today. B'chazer ba, he became a Baal Tshuva. Well, that's our case. Hoyel v'nitcha yidacha. This carbon, he set aside a carbon that's mamish gewaldik because it's roi v'nitcha. Was available to be a carbon. He decided to go off the derech. I love this maisa. It's a gewaldik maisa where a guy comes to the Rav, because it happened to me basically yesterday. I told somebody that I said, I don't know why this guy's so upset at me. And then he says, but what else did I say? I said, and I also kind of made fun of him in public. He's like, no. He says, that's not like the guy that comes to the Rav. He says, Rabbi, I have to do tshuva. He says, what happened? He says, I stole a rope. Stole it? So give back the rope. Yeah, but the rope was tied to a horse. So give back the horse. He said, yeah, but there's a wagon behind. No, but there's 3 children in the wagon. No one. I had to kill them, get rid of them. So he starts out, I had a rope, a rope. So that's how we tell ourselves, it's a small thing. Then you look into it, it's not, nishtazoi pashut. So you can do tshuva. Even a hamer das, you can do tshuva. However, nitchi yidach itmenami. Omer Yirmi, Omer Rabbi, Omer Yechon. Another Givalkin story. Ocha chaylev. Person by mistake ate chaylev. V'hivrish carbon. And he set aside a carbon. We could all relate to this. He became a meshugara. It happens to many of us. All of a sudden you lose your mind. And when you lose your mind, you can't bring a carbon. So it's nitcha. It's pushed off. But then he had a refuah shlema. Once it's pushed off forever. So we have 2 cases here. We have the case of a person went off the derech and a case that it became a sugar. We need both cases. The first one became a mummer, he went off. He did it his own choice. But when it happens by itself, it's like you're sleeping. How come when you're sleeping it's not considered dachui? It's pushed off. You can't bring a carbon when you're sleeping. The answer is because naturally you're going to wake up from this. So over here also, you wake up from your mishigas. You go in and out. You have different periods of time. Sometimes you're crazy, sometimes you're not. It's like kiyashin dami. I got to tell you Givalika's story. It's a little long, but it's kedai. From Ramayel Biderman, Mordecai Maisa. A different ending than all endings. There's a kid in Bnei Brak who had a terrible eye disease. And they went to Reb Führer. Reb Führer said, listen, do not do the surgery here in Israel. They don't know how to do it. You need to go to Texas. This guy in Texas, he's the world-class surgeon. You got to go to Texas. There's 2 problems. Problem number 1, it costs $500,000. Problem number 2, you can't get into him for 5-6 months. He says, you raised $500,000, I'll get you in 5 months. But it's even to get in 5 months is the whole thing. Fine. Punkt. That doctor came to Israel for like a seminary. What is it called? Yomi in Tel HaShomer seminar. And he was there for a few days. The first day, everything's going well. The second day, the guy that organized the whole thing, his son got killed in Gaza. So they had to cancel the whole thing. They canceled it. And they said, you know what, but we have all these doctors. We're going to take them around. We're going to do a shpatzir. So they get this professional tour guide, and he takes them to Bnei Brak. He goes into Panovich. Then they stop, and he says, they go past Raiva 27. No, that's not where the kid lives. And they see a bunch of people in a line. So what's this? He says, this is a gemach. This is where people get money free, no interest, interest-free. Interest-free, yeah. He says, no, we have even a gemach for pacifiers, we have a gemach for strollers, gemach for linen, for everything. And then the guy says, you know, you're here in Bnei Brak, maybe you guys want to do a gemach, you want to do a little chesed. So everybody says, yeah, I'll do this. The guy says, you know, there's a kid coming to me in 5 months for surgery. I'll do the surgery today. I have an empty day. If I can get a OR, I'll go in there, I'll do the surgery. So they call up Rabbi Führer. He calls up, he says, listen, I'm here in Bnei Brak. Can you get me an operating room? He says, not a problem. Rabbi Führer calls up my Yonei Yeshua. He says, listen, I need right now an empty operating room. Kids are, okay. So then he asks Rabbi Führer, he says, where does this kid live? I want to tell him that I'm here. I want to invite him right now to the surgery. So he tells him where he lives. So they go to the house. The doctor knocks on the door, and the kid opens up. He says, I'm a surgeon from America. I want to speak to your dad. I want to tell him something very important. He says, I can't wake up my dad. My dad is sleeping. Can't wake him up. So he says, it's like Dov Benassine. He says, no, tell him it's very important. I need him up right now. So he wakes up his father. His father says, what are you doing? I need to sleep. I have a chavrusa now, or I'm very tired. He says, the guy at the door says something about surgery we can do today. He says, just stop dreaming. Let me sleep. Kids, he goes to the door. He says, my father can't come. He says, tell your father that I'm the surgeon. I want to do the surgery today. He better get up right now. So he goes to his father. He says, the guy is insisting, you gotta, he says, I told you, I'm tired. I know you want the surgery very badly. Stop giving me a chinik. Goodbye. Don't wake me up again. So he comes to the door. He says, my father's no. Fine. A week later, Rabbi Fear calls up the guy. He says, no, so how did the surgery go? He says, surgery? What are you talking about, surgery? He says, what do you mean? The guy, the surgeon, was at your house. What, it was real? He's like, yeah. I said, that's the end of the story. It's a terrible story. The point of the story is, do not miss opportunities. The guy knocked on your door. He says, here, come, I have a surgery. I'm going to save you $500,000 and a trip to Texas, and you shite that you slept through it. Slept through it. It's Aser Semei Tshuva. We have the opportunity. You see, Rav Dan Bichapt, what I'm going with. I have the opportunity. Don't sleep through it. Don't sleep through it. We're here. Sometimes people knock on your door and they say, listen, I have an opportunity. You can do the daf. You can change your life. Hey, we'll do later. Don't sleep through it. If it's a terrible story, it's for a good point, though. I'm slept through it. Lost $500,000. I don't know if surgeon was like kind of, I don't know what happened, how much it cost them at them. They certainly had to fly to Texas. Zok the Gemara. And if I would say it over here by the Shaita, a guy that goes off in his mind, he doesn't have the choice, today I'm going to become normal or not. By a mummer, he could come back anytime he wants. Maybe it's not considered pushing off because you have the ability to come back. I need both cases. Same story. A guy ate chaylev by mistake. He set aside a carbon, and all of a sudden, this was mamish in your favorite masech of all time, Masechtas Hairius. If the bezdin decides that chaylev is mutter today, what's the halacha? Then you don't bring a carbon if you ate the chaylev. So let's say after the bezdin says chaylev is mutter, they made a mistake. Chaylev is mutter, and you go in, you eat chaylev. What's the halacha? You do not bring a carbon. So I ate chaylev yesterday. And I set aside a carbon. And Bezdin then said it's mutter. Maybe my carbon should become considered pushed off. No, it's after Bezdin said that it's mutter. Is it considered pushed off or not? What happened?
No, Bezdin said it's us, not mutter.
No, they said it's mutter. The Torah says it's aser. No. Afterwards, yeah, but I'm talking about the point. Okay. V'hayru bezin shechelev mutter. That Gemara says mutter. V'chazrim. Then they said the chelev is aser. Then they said, yeah, we made a mistake, but it's too late already because for 5 minutes this animal didn't have to be brought on the mizbeach. Now, you're not going to believe it, says the old man. When Rabbi Yochanan started the sugya of dachui, meha pasach. From all 3 cases, you have the case of a guy that goes off the derech. You have a guy that becomes meshuggah. You have a guy that the bezdin said that it's mutter to eat chaylev. Which case did Rabbi Yochanan talk about? The case of the chaylev becoming mutter. Why? My taima. Hasam, the other 2 cases of a guy going off the derech and the shaita. Hasam gabi yidchi carbon lo yidchi. The person changed. His mindset changed. Either he went off the derech or something happened to his brain. But the carbon lo yidchi, the carbon remained the same. Hacha carbon yidchi over here, the Sanhedrin Paskin. No carbon today. We had in the Mishnah at 72 skenim who said that oila is also one of the karbanas that you have to toss out. As the Gemara, why does it say it in singular? The Kulu B'chadash Shitasa Havakaimi, all 72 agreed. It wasn't 69 against 3. It was 72. Everybody said the same thing. Where did Ben Azai get his halacha from? It says a pasuk. There is a pasuk. He lishmak sheira shalishmak psula. We already used this idea of who. It. You have to have the right intent. Just want to make sure we got everything here. This we did. That we did. Okay. Osham Nami asked the Gemara Ksiv Behu. So that's we already had that a few times. Not this pasuk. This one. Osham Hu. We had this 3 times already at least. that it says v'hiktarosim only afterwards. Afterwards it says who? Okay. It says Gemara Ainami lach haktarosim murimu. Look at the pasuk. It says v'ikra kohen es hakol v'ikter mizbecha. It says v'ikter oilo. Who comes after the v'ikter? Trehu ksivi. Look at this. We have another one. V'iktar this kol ayon oilo. Who? Okay, it says twice. So we learn from the second one. So Gemara Gabi Osham Nami Trehu ksiv. Look, we have Osham who and Osham who. Two different Osham who's. Oh, so now we're going to go into the classic that we're very familiar with. Umachatos she'ena kolil. Chatos, kohanami from it. It's not as kaddish as a. It doesn't have the same dush as a oila. Shachta shelo shema psula. Yet, if you have the wrong intent, you think that it's a oila instead of a chatos, you could toss it out. You have to destroy it. Oila she kolil like kolchkin. I want to learn. So here, we do one of these again. From a chatos, I'm going to learn that a oila, that it's without the right intent. You thought it when you're shechting oila, you thought that it's a shlamim. It becomes possible you have to toss it out. Why? Because it's less kaddish than a chatos. What are we going to do now? We're going to come up with a pircha. Chatos is what? What's so special about chatos? It's mechaper other people. Oila is not mechaper. So what are we going to do now? So we're going to learn from Pesach. And what's the pircha on Pesach? Zmanu kavua. So now, but the chatos is not zmanu kavua, but chatos is mechaperes. But Pesach is not mechaperes, it's zmanu kavua. So you go around in a circle. So what do? You learn from both of them together. It's shava that if you shecht without lishma, it becomes possible. And now what do? We say that the two of them together have one pircha. What's the pircha of the two of them? They both have kares. How do you have kares? Chatos comes to forgive for somebody that did a kares avera. And how do you have kares by Pesach? If you don't bring a kar in Pesach, this kares, which is very strange. They're very two different kareses. Let's see inside. You go around in a circle. Each one has a positive and a negative. They have one common denominator. Possible, but the bottom line is, if you shecht it without the right intent, it's possible. Says Gemara, tzad kares, benazai tzad kares loy parach. He doesn't like it. Why? Because of what we just said, that the two different kareses. One is because you didn't bring it. One is to forgive on other people. Ask the Gemara, Osham Nami Leisi, look, check this out. This is Givaldik. It's 3 words, but we now we know what it is. We had this yesterday. The Gemara wanted to learn that an Osham should be possible if you don't have the right intent. To learn from a chatos. The Gemara says, no, chatos is not good because you pour the blood above the red line. So Pesach Yichiach, it's not above the red line. What's the Gemara says, no, Pesach is Manakivua. So you go around in a circle. What do you do now? You learn from both of them. That what? The Tzad Shav is that they both loy the Shema is possible. So what did the Gemara do over here? Same thing that we did here. Both of them together, you can't learn from them. Why? Because they both have kares. But according to Ben Nazai, that kares is not a good answer. Why? Because there's 2 different types of kares. Look what happens. You have to put a line through it. It's no good. So maybe you have to come up with a new pircha. What's the new pircha? That they're in tzibur and yachid. Now that you know that, look how beautiful it is. Osham Nami Leisi, 3 words. I don't understand what it means here. Osham Nami Leisi. No, you have to go back to last sugya. And now you got rid of the kares. So now, Osham, you should also say that it's possible shloi l'shma. Osham parach malas shavish be'em shkin yeshnam tzibur ki biyachid. I have another pircha. V'bay say ma tzad kares nami parach. No, I could go to the original. I could say this. Yeshbon tzad kares. At the end of the day, Ben Azai got it from a Messiah, from generation to generation, passed on all the way to Moshe Rabbeinu. So why did he use a kavachomer? And this answers Ari Simon's question throughout all Zevachim. A lot of it is just to get us sharp, to understand, to teach us how to say kavachomer, to teach us how to frig up a kavachomer. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.